I'm super excited for the upcoming remake of The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. In this video, I actually was researching for a bit of more, let's say, development and tech statistics, so I decided on the way I'm going to share it with you. And I think some of them are very, very exciting. So let's begin. Now, of course, we're talking about the original game, just saying. So the total file size of the entire game on the Nintendo 64 cartridge was 32 megabytes, which is again mind-blowing that a massive 3D world with dozens of dungeons and a full soundtrack fits into a, let's say, less space than a single high-quality photo taken on a modern smartphone. Now, the polygon count for Adult Link 3D model with the gear equipped is 757 polygons. And just in comparison, a modern character in let's say, an average game is usually used around 100,000 polygons. Young Link's model, by the way, is even smaller, sitting at roughly around 500 triangles. Now, the cost of making Ocarina of Time is reportedly over around 12 million US dollars. And it involved a team over 200 people. Now, at the time, that made it one of the most expensive video games ever created. Now, today, of course, many AAA games have budget exceeding even 100, even 200 million dollars. Now, if you take US inflation into account, it should be roughly around 24 to 25 million dollars as of 2026. There are 100 gold Skulltulas hidden across Hyrule, and finding them actually became one of the gaming's earliest large-scale collectible hunts in a 3D action-adventure game. Now, there's a total of 12 main songs in the game. The total of number of melodies Link can actually learn using his instrument. So this includes 6 standard songs like Zelda's Lullaby and 6 magical warp songs like the Nocturne of Shadow. Now, who knows, maybe this is gonna change in the remake, but as of the classic, there's 0 lines of voice dialogue for Link. He doesn't speak a single word or voice-acted dialogue in the entire game outside of combat grunts and gasps. So this was a deliberate creative choice by Nintendo to maximize player immersion. So yeah, just only, you just communicate through expressions and non-verbal sounds, and keeping him silent, silent avatar allowed players to fully project themselves into the hero's journey. Now, the original game had 3 cartridge versions. The number of distinct physical revisions released for the Nintendo 64 was 1.0, 1.1, and 1.2. Version 1.0 and 1.1 includes earlier audio and visual effects that were later modified, including change to some ambient fire tempo sound elements and blood effects in certain scenes. And version 1.2 contained bug fixes and these minor content adjustments. 3 minutes and 47 seconds, this is the any speedrun world record held by runner Count LG using state reference manipulation SRM and arbitrary code execution, also called ACE, to trigger the credits from Kokiri Forest. 99 out of 100, this is the Metacritic score of the classic game. This is the highest rated video game of all time on the aggregator site, a record that is already held for over 25 years. No other game was able to beat it, and for what I checked last time, it was based on 22 reviews. Now, Ocarina of Time sold around 7.6 million copies worldwide on the Nintendo 64, making it one of the best-selling games on the system and a landmark success for its time. Some people also, some sources, updated tracking sources suggested that it's closer to between 7.6 million to 7.8 million units in the total lifetime sales, depending on region counting and reporting cutoffs. 500,000 copies, this is the US launch pre-order. This is a historic milestone that made it the most pre-ordered video game in history up to late 1998. Now, this is not officially verified, but it's a widely circulated number. And what we know is that Nintendo did report extremely high demand and strong pre-orders in the US before launch. Now, it's important to know that pre-order tracking in 1998 was not standardized like modern digital storefronts. Numbers often refer to retailer allocations, initial shipment reservations, or early demand estimates. So the exact 500,000 figure is not as solid enough to actually state as a fact, but maybe something not far from that. The game was also built in around roughly 2.5 years, which is extremely fast for a game of that scale, especially for Nintendo's first fully 3D Zelda game. Now, for its time, the game actually featured a huge amount of in-game storytelling, far more cinematic than previous Zelda titles, around over 1 hour of cutscenes. I'm saying 1 hour, but at the time it was a lot. Now, when I played the game, this part for the first time, was shocked that it actually had targeting, where you can actually lock on NPCs or enemies, to be more exact. And this was actually a patent level innovation. And the targeting system, also called Z-targeting, became so influential that it effectively defined modern lock-in combat system used in games for decades afterwards. Many enemies in the game don't just spawn randomly. They use internal random values that affect behavior, like for example aggression timing, drop chances, and even movement patterns. This is why encounters can feel slightly different even if you are in the same area. Now, the entire game, the classic game, original game on Nintendo 64, built around a 20 FPS structure. This means that every movement, attack, and animation is carefully timed to a fixed frame system that defines how combat feels. And to be honest with you, when I first got into it 2 days ago, it didn't feel great. And this is one of the reasons I told myself, one of the reasons that I'm gonna wait for the remake. Now, of course, you need to understand that at the time, people grew up and this was normal. It's a masterpiece that built on limits. And this is also, by the way, the reason why I'm so excited to see how the remake will be and how they keep the balance between staying loyal to the original and maybe adding some other quality of life improvements and maybe other features to the game and see how it will actually compare to the original. Thanks for watching.